Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to head into game number 1 between Mousesports and Empire right now. Let's go ahead and check it out. Grubby, thank goodness we have you, because we have Hasuobs up against Violet, and look at this, a PVZ. Just so happens that we have a Protoss expert over here.
Yay! Hasuobs versus Violet. It is right, Violet asked. Yeah, I guess so. And I guess I have no idea what they're talking about. Anyway, nice map to be starting off on. Am I correct in understanding that you can choose who you field on what map?
Yes, it's true.
So that means that Hasuobs has willingly placed himself on Belcher Winter.
What is he thinking, sir?
And faced with a Zerg, so not a Protoss. Okay. That means that probably he practiced for it, which makes this match all the more interesting. Violet going with the 0.00001% less efficient 10 Overlord into Extractor Cancel Drone. Has been proven by the math heads on TeamLiquid.net that it's better to go for a 9 Overlord. And thereabout ends my knowledge of Zerg build orders. Luckily, I can complement that knowledge with much more Protoss knowledge.
Well, he is
14 pool.
Yep, he's going for a very standard 14 pool. No gas. That, of course, is as well standard. Now, basically, it's just to say, okay, I'm going to get my expansion without any pylon shenanigans. I can get enough Zerglings out there, and I'll be A-okay. Hasuobs looks like he's doing a fast expansion Nexus first, it almost looks like. But no, he might go up to... Forge first, but I want to talk a little bit about this 17 probes. This is something we see all the time. Ooh, evolution steal on that particular place. This is really annoying. Okay, so how does Hasuobs actually go about this? He's putting down a gateway now. Is this what you like to do?
So there's so many ways to do Forge Fast Expand and changing up the order, this and that. You can go 14 Forge and then try to get your Nexus. In this case, you would be able to make a cannon now in order to clean up that Evo chamber all the faster. Or you can go for 15 Nexus and then come up with your Forge. And in this case, usually the Zerg won't be blocking it yet. Now, what Hasuobs did is also a very accepted variant. It's where you go 17 probes and then Forge first and then Nexus. But when you do that, you have to bring 2 probes. If your opponent drone scouted you, you have to bring them and you have to block. You have to self-block your own Nexus place, your own natural, before you get enough money for the Nexus. You have to bring them right away, because when this happens, you're going to be behind, and he's going to be so much more behind with, oh my god, nice. That was a beautiful block. But how much money is being spent here? Hatchery is almost halfway. He has to block that with the probe. No, this is very, very, very bad for Hasuobs. He spent a ton of resources, did not need 2 cannons. Is getting cybernetic score, he's getting his gas, but he's not mining yet. Probes are going to be harassed, taken off mining time perhaps. Hatchery is almost done. This is a very, very bad start, and the result of, I think, either poor decisions or poor planning.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting, but Hasuobs is starting off with such a late Nexus at this point. It almost looks like he's going for a gateway, a regular gateway expand, but he has the Forge and 2 additional cannons. So right there, It's like, there's your Nexus. He got everything in the wrong
order.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, nothing is going right.
What's the point of doing a build that is 4% more economical or 7% more economical when you have a 30% chance that you mess up, make a mistake, and you get like 60% behind? That's the very rough maths of this situation. Had he kept the block, or had he put the probe in between the cybernetics and the pylon when they were being morphed in on hold position, or it could have been all way better, but there was just... Even the first block was perfect. If he was 0.01 second later, the Zerglings would have gotten in. So there was so much risk involved that I just don't think it was worth it at all. Yeah, now you think you're going to go into a normal game, but all the timings from Protoss that would normally come are going to be later. And actually, for your mentality, the best thing to do now is to pretend that those links never got in. That by the moment they got cleared up, it never happened. Because you don't want to play the whole game feeling that you're behind and doing, like, I don't know, bad because you think you're losing. On the other hand, sometimes you'll be playing that game and you'll be like, hey, why is this not working? Why does he have so much units? The answer is all a direct result of those early game deficiencies that you had. Has to be said though, he killed 2 overlords back, and it helps him a little bit in coming back into this game. I still think Violet is ahead. He's at 37 against 30 workers. Normally you should expect to see about 34 workers against the Zerg 37, something like that. So showing the 4 gateways, lots of information for Violet there, and it's just looking really, really good for Violet, who has chosen to go with a 2-base macro hatchery build rather than a 3rd base, which leads me to believe that he's going to go for Mutalisks, which is a perfect choice on a map like this.
Yeah, I like Mutalisk. Obviously, it gives you a lot of advantages in terms of space and control. And that's exactly what he's trying to punish his opponent. Now, the big thing with those Zerglings getting in there, they actually were able to make sure that there was no Stargate tech. And Stargate tech, I wouldn't say it's a counter, but it's a way to deal with Mutalisks a little bit better. Yeah, especially like double Stargate production, it can definitely hard counter Mutas if they do come out. But he knows his opponent doesn't even have the capacity just because the 4 gateways are out now, and there was only a limited 3 gas for quite a long time. So I think Violet is in a fantastic position. He does have a slight advantage on his opponent, but as it stands now, 50 Harvesters to 43, not a big advantage right now for Violet. You can see the supplies are relatively similar, and the units, the army tab, isn't that big for either of the players. So right now they're both just building upon their tech and their production, and we'll see as soon as those mutas pop out, can Hasselhoff deal with these effectively?
Yeah, and like you said, most of it looks rather equal. We also have a little bit of supply block, not too long for Violet, but the real story is being told here in the tech advantage, in the whole rock, paper, scissors story of it all. And how much gas do we have? We've got nearly 900 gas. We're going to see 8 to 9 Mutalisks popping out, and neither Phoenix nor Blink is ready, although I have to say Blink is being researched now. So although that helps, 2-base versus 2-base, you've got Blink. Usually it gives you some chance to defend for a while, but the most difficult thing about the whole thing is when Zerg decides to base trade the moment you move out. That's the difficult part. I think the best thing for Hasselhoff to do would be to get a big army, don't make any cannons, defend both of his bases, and then make like 5 cannons in both bases and attack with everything he has. This seems to be the way that you can win against Mutalisks, but they pose all sorts of troubles. Many approaches have had nightmares with Mutalisks. A lot of it comes down to how the Mutalisks are being used though, so still a big picture remains to be filled in there by Violet, and let's see how the first real engagement goes. Mutalisks fly in.
Yep, and we'll see if they do any damage. Blink has just now finished. So they will be able to obviously catch up to those mutas. But what these mutas actually do, it's a 2-part thing. They obviously do a lot of harass, but they force their opponents into their base, force the static defense, and that allows them to take their expansion. So you can see a 3rd going down. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a 4th and even a 5th go down. Getting that huge gas count, a lot of times you will have a huge mineral surplus. In this case, actually, he has a huge gas surplus, but a lot of times you have a huge mineral surplus, and then you're able to do really whatever you want. You're just really bottlenecked with the gas, and that'll all eventually go to mutas and to upgrades.
And now we see Hasselhoff trying to go for a Templar Archives on off of 2 bases. That is able to get either Archons or Storm, but it means he mostly can't make much more Stalkers. Already got 9 mutas and 10 more coming. It's going to be 20 Mutalisks. And already we don't really see enough Stalkers to take care of those kind of Mutalisk numbers. So gonna research Storm. Pretty good decision. He has the cannons. I feel like he made those 4 cannons probably a little bit too soon, because he could still function mostly with Stalker defense, mobile defenses. He didn't need to make them until he wanted to move out, and he has shown that this is not something he wants to do. I feel like they were unnecessary. On the other hand, he has a lot of mineral build-up, and the only other thing he can do with that is to make a lot of Zealots, which are not necessarily going to be that useful.
Yeah, that's why I like just going High Templar Cannon in this early game stage. when you're defending, obviously, against mass mutalisks. I think it's the most optimal way to actually play against it, just defensively, I should say. But we'll see if he's able to actually amass an army that, you know, is able to counter something like Mutas. But here we go. Mutas are bearing down this one cannon. 2 cannons will be destroyed before actually the one is canceled. Nice blink up. Is it going to be able to do any damage? One Mutalisk goes down, and that's it. So you can just
one Muta.
The agility of these Mutas are just insane. They're able to just snipe in, snipe out, and do whatever damage they want to do. But here, finally, the High Templar attack is going to come out, and the Mutas are going to actually go back into the natural, maybe? Yep.
Yeah, actually I like the way Hasso is playing it. Killed now one more Mutalisk. He got an army which is self-sufficient in dealing with... Oh! What a nice sandwich! And beautiful storms! So many storms eat those Mutas. Wow!
That was the most perfect engagement for him, trapping the Mutas in that little tiny top middle position. This almost certainly is the trigger for him to go and push out. He is taking the third, but while these Mutas are so weakened, he knows that his opponent has no capacity to actually take any map control. He should take his own.
Yeah, I actually love the way he did that. For all the theory crafting that I've been doing so far, Hasselhoff's played really good and solid so far. I'm loving it. He even has the Observer. It's easy to say, oh, I don't need Observer because there's no burrowed roaches. No, he has the Observer to clear up creep tumors. He has left High Templars in every base. He cannoned up. It's perfect. He's not going for a Doom all-in attack, but look here. Lots of Zerglings coming in. Is one High Templar going to be enough? Nice Zealots there, stopping the majority of the through a beautiful storm there. Mutas and Lynx have to run away.
Yeah, of course. Now the Blinkstalkers are given chase, but they will not catch up to how fast those Zerglings and the Mutas are. Looks like Hasselhoff will just rebuild a little bit here and there, but he's going on. What he wants to do is remove any of the extra bases, the 5th and 6th gas, I should say, the 7th and 8th gas. He wants to take those out, but who knows? He might go for the Juggler right here. He's actually going up on these Spinecrawlers. A huge, massive Zerglings and Banelings coming out here. Nice force shields go down, but is it going to be enough? Nice. Oh, the storm was just a precautionary measure.
Yeah, it was just defensive storm. Perfect play by Hasselhoff so far, I want to say. Violet has chosen to go with Roaches and Banelings, which are not fantastic against Storm and Stalkers. It's mostly if Hasselhoff would have gone for like a 2-base all-in off of 5 cannons on each base, then there would have been pretty good, all those Banelings, especially if Hasselhoff is under huge time pressure. But he's not. You know what? He's 60 perps, he's mining off of 6 gases. Huge flank coming in here.
And here we go. The High Templars are actually picked off immediately. Now these Stalkers just running for their lives. No High Templars, it doesn't look like, anywhere on the field. These Banelings are just going to roll forward. They're killing all of the cannons and the pylons. And look at that. Hasselhoff just gets completely dismantled. Additional units coming in from behind. But this is just too much. Being overrun, these Zerglings are just gnawing away. A nice storm goes off on all the Zerglings. But is it going to be enough? No, it is not. The Stalkers are just caught out here. And the third is gone from Hasselhoff.
Wow, I don't think Hasselhoff, nor me, to be honest, was expecting that he will be overpowered like that. Usually, Mutalisks play a very patient kind of game, hiding behind lots of bases, taking like 4th base, 5th base, and so on. Violet, he stayed conservative, he took only a 4th, and he just came in with a huge amount of Roaches, for which Hasselhoff did not have a natural counter. He didn't have any Immortals out. Why would you against Zerglings and Mutalisks? And then you had all the Banelings, which on an open battle with free storms and blinks and so on, they're not that awesome. But when you're building, when you're just trying to destroy a heavily fortified 3rd base, and the army has to stand still to defend it, they worked out really nicely. And now he's going for Infestors. A really intelligent, aggressive, well-timed out play from Violet. And despite the fact that Hasselhoff has dealt with the initial Mutas very well. Actually, both players are playing very good, and I'm really enjoying this game.
Yeah, one thing I do want to mention, Violet has actually been going for a very army concentrated type of opening. He was actually on 64 drones forever. Just now going up to 70, but Still, having that low drone saturation, it actually enables you to have more supply into the army, but more importantly, it gets quicker times. So that's why we saw the huge mass. Normally, we do see Zergs go up to that 70 type. He was 70, 75, anywhere around there for 3 base. We see that from Idra all the time. Doesn't happen this time around, and that's why I think Violet just had an alarming amount of units.
Yeah, and I also want to say, if Hasu can be faulted for anything, it would be the fact that his original strike force, which was designed to take out some creep tumors and apply some pressure, made Violet produce all that army. And you gotta know, you have a timer, you have a clock on your head when you move out against someone who has map control, against a Zerg, with a big army, but it doesn't grow any bigger. Hasselhoff's army didn't grow, and then the Zerg came in with all that army and he killed him.
Yep.
As we see now. Of course, this is a little bit less relevant fight.
Up, it looks like Violet is just going to push in here. There's just so many roaches in this army composition. There's 0-0 to the 2-2, but just the sheer amount of units, that's going to be it. Congrats goes out, and we have ourselves 1-0. And that's going to do it. So 1-0 goes up for Team Empire. Manuel, talk me through it. I mean, how did the game break down? We did talk about heavily into it in the game, but if you have to wrap it up, what would you say? I mean, both players, I think, played phenomenally in that game.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think both of them made good decision after good decision, and as I was trying to say towards the end of the game, if anything, Hasselhoff did very wrong is that he took a small strike force, he cleared out the creep tumors, and then he must have known that Violet would feel some threat, which I feel was part of his plan.
Yeah.
At that point, he should either have brought over a lot of reinforcements and make it a real attack, but what's even better, I think, is if he would have gone back for a bit, because we see the first moment where it started going really wrong for him was when Violet was coming from 2 sides, and the Templar couldn't get position on the opponent. There were Lynx and Roaches and Mutas and Banelings all coming from 2 sides. Beautiful flank there by Violet, and it shows some foresight because it's a pretty big ring around the rosy to come from the left side. But Violet had his army in position, he sandwiched him, and it just completely nullified the ability of Stalkers to blink back defensively. So I feel like Hasu, he should have gone in there on the map, asserted his map control a little bit. He had force fields initially, but he used all of them. He burned through all of them to try and keep the Banelings away. He used 1 storm to try and keep them away. He should have gone the distance, go all the way home, wait till you have some force fields again, get a couple of more Stalkers, maybe some Archons, measure out the opponent, and then go for a very definitive attack. He also didn't have any defensive High Templars in his 3rd yet, so I feel like he was almost there. But if he works a little bit more on that decision-making in a late game, he could have definitely taken on that game. But
yeah,
great game by Violet, though.
As I was saying before, I mean, he's at 2-2, where his opponent's at 0-0. That's a big advantage going in there. I mean, when Zerglings are only dealing, what is that, 2 damage to all your units, that is awesome. Roaches not dealing, well, it's not as much. I mean, of course, they have a base 16, and the -3 rather is 13. But still, that is a lot of damage that they're able to soak more than obviously having 0-0. So if you just massed up, gotten to even supplies, and just waited until it negated out the disparity of supply, negated out a little bit, it would have been a lot better. That could be said. I mean, we could say from there, maybe observers, more activity, for seeing what his opponent is doing. Yeah, I have to agree with you, reiterate the fact that he shouldn't have been out there for so long with that initial strike force. But still, both players played awesome. We do have Empire up 1-0. And you know what? Let's go ahead and get into game number 2. So we're going to be in game number 2 after this break. Don't go away. Empire versus Mouz after this.